So hi, welcome to Noise Podcast with Emily McNally. We're going to ask some questions today. I'm going to start. So what inspired you to start making music?
I've been making music as long as I can remember, really. It's hard for me to remember a point in my life where I wasn't just constantly either playing or singing or writing. It really is just the growth of like confidence in my music making
Mhm.
through the years. I sort of just did it for myself for a long time. Uh, and then once I got towards the end of high school, I started playing my songs for my friends and for my peers, and they got really excited about it, and I got excited about their feedback, and that sort of gave me the confidence to start really pursuing that as sort of a professional goal.
Okay, very
That's awesome.
nice.
All right. So congratulations on your newest release. So
Thank you.
sad. Guess that's why. Of course, yeah. How do you feel about the response to it so far?
It's been good. Yeah, I think as a smaller artist who's mostly doing things independently, like managing your expectations about a release is like a
Mhm.
balancing act.
Mhm.
At least for me personally, I feel like I always sort of oscillate between like, oh my God, nobody's gonna listen to it,
Oh.
or like on the opposite end of it being like, this is the one that goes viral and like
Mhm.
mega stardom. And it's usually always in the middle of that. I was really pleased with the response to this one, though. I've been, yeah, sort of slowly building a following um, the past couple of years, and this is like the fastest it's grown
Mhm.
of a release that I've put out. So that was really nice to see.
Well, that's
Definitely.
good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Happy to hear that.
So is there any meaning behind the title or the cover art?
Oh boy, I spent a long time thinking about the title. Because it went through a couple different titles, but I just wanted it to be sort of memorable, and that's like the chorus is it goes like, yeah, it's so sad, guess that's why, basically. um so I figured that was sort of the most easily searchable. The song itself is about sort of like getting in your own way and self-sabotage, and like realizing that like it's me doing the things that are making myself so sad, and
Mhm.
like that's like the first step to like um getting better, I guess, is like
Mhm.
identifying like the problematic behaviors that you're doing and like the bad habits in terms of like relationships and like communication, and like realizing that like it's like my responsibility to sort of like get better at opening up, and like things aren't just going to happen to me until like I put the effort into.
Mhm.
The cover art is, I took that where I'm sitting like right now into my
Oh.
mirror in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't intending on using that photo for the cover art. But I liked the lighting of like the way it was like at night, and like the computer screen was like glowing in like a cool way that like illuminated my face. And I was just kind of like, oh, this is like the vibe of the song. And so I
Mhm.
took a picture to like remember it, because I was like, oh, in the like I'll go back and do like a more like official shoot.
Mhm.
And then I did, and I didn't like any of those pictures as much as I
That's
liked
fair.
that one original one. So that was it. That had to be it.
Do you always want your cover arts to like match the vibe of the song?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I really believe in like a full sort of like experience, like the visual experience and like the sonic experience matching. Um yeah, cuz like the cover art of my last single that I put out like in the summer, completely different vibe of song and completely different vibe of cover art.
Mhm.
So yeah, I always want it to feel coherent for
Oh.
sure.
Definitely. All right. I also have a question about the title. So it's so sad and then in parentheses, guess that's why. Is
Yeah.
it like two different titles? Like you'd prefer you can call them both, or is it just like one full package? Because I've always wanted to ask that, but I've always forgotten.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think like they could be separate, like if you wanted to like shorten it and be like, oh, it's the song So Sad, like that would
Mhm.
work too. I like songs with parentheses. That's just like an aesthetic choice
Okay.
that I like a lot, and like I've been looking for an excuse to do for
Yeah.
one of my songs. So that was, yeah, it was really just like an aesthetic choice.
Okay.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you. So can you tell me a little bit about your writing process for the single?
Yeah. This one has, yeah, sort of a funny story, different, I guess, to how I usually write, in that I was just messing around on my keyboard with like the different like preset sounds that it comes with. Um, and there was this choir sound that I was just sort of playing chords with. And then in the back of my head, I was like, what would it sound like if like I played this choir sound like at the absolute lowest note? Like I bet it would sound kind of funny. And so I played it, and it was just like that like hum at the beginning of the song. And I was like, ooh, this is a cool sound. And it was like giving me very like sort of like Billie Eilish, like Lorde sort of like vibes. And so just as like a fun sort of exercise, I was like, okay, like if I was one of those two artists, like what kind of song would I write?
Yeah.
And I started like spitballing some lyrics, and then I actually liked what I was doing, and I was like, oh wait, this is great. And so I like refined it. And that's how it came about, was just sort of like a happy little accident, of me just like messing around with sounds. And then, yeah. And it was like a song topic that I had been trying to figure out how to write for a while. So it was a good meeting of the two.
Definitely.
Do you always write your lyrics like that? Just kind of like spitballing?
Yeah, usually I'll just sort of like open my voice memo app and just like record, and just like usually just like a verse and a chorus comes out somehow. And then it's a lot of like going back and like adding another verse and like tweaking lyrics. But yeah, I'm usually very much like a lyrics first person.
Oh.
Very like inspired by like an emotional moment, or like, like something happening, like an event that I want to capture in a song.
Oh,
Definitely. And I also want to ask, when you're writing songs, do you usually like go in the headspace of like, oh, what would I write if I was Lorde or Billie Eilish? Or was it just this specific song?
It was just usually not. I definitely take inspiration from a lot of other artists and like what I'm listening to at the time. But that was just sort of like it was just really for that one, just as kind of a way to get the ball rolling.
Okay.
Because a lot of what I've done previously is more like acoustic bass. Although I love like the more synth and like pop stuff, and it still sometimes feels a little intimidating to start off writing something like that, because I'm so used to just like starting off with my guitar. So I think that was like a good excuse, like to like open the door to be like, oh, it's not me right now writing it, but it was.
So actually, speaking of headspace, where was your headspace at while you were writing this song?
Yeah, I wrote this song about a year ago exactly. So it's just at the beginning of quarantine and lockdown, and so it was a chaotic headspace for sure, as a lot of people were. I think a lot of what was making me think about that, and the ways that I've like gotten in my own way in terms of like relationships, and like how like maybe like I could have pursued things but I didn't, or like I wasn't honest enough to like make things work, was sort of like that feeling of not knowing how long we were all going to be like locked inside, and like feeling like a lot of pressure as a young person. It's like, oh, this is my time to like have love stories and like do all of that, and like not knowing like when I was going to be able to go get back and do that, and feeling a lot of regret for having gotten in my own way so much in the past, leading up to that moment. So that was a lot of what was inspiring me to sort of write that all out and get that out of my system.
Okay.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. So you already mentioned Billie Eilish and Lorde, but apart from those two, what band or artist influences pop out the most to you while listening to the song?
Ooh, to this one. Yeah, those two are the big ones. I'm very inspired by a lot of like more like smaller artists like Mallrat, and like everything that she's doing in terms of like sort of more minimalistic stuff. Lyrically, I feel very inspired by like Phoebe Bridgers. I know like the sonic styles are different, but I admire her like just like visceral honesty a lot, and I try to emulate that. In terms of sonic like influences, though, it's definitely Billie and Lorde are the main ones.
That's
All
fair. All right, taste. They're both great, so.
Yeah.
So this question should be super, super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe the single for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
3 words. Okay. I'm gonna say moody,
Mhm.
dreamy, and introspective.
Ooh, all
Yeah.
right. So those are really good.
Yeah. An alternate one, I know this is kind of cheating to give an alternate one, but the alternate one would be 4 2 a.m. breakdowns.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's the listening experience vibe.
Definitely. So speaking of listener experience, you're giving us like the best segues. This is amazing.
Oh, amazing.
Is there a specific mood or feeling you want this song to invoke in your listeners?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think like catharsis. I think that when I seek out like sad songs, it's to like not feel so alone in the sadness and to be like, oh, like I'm not the first person to experience this emotion, nor will I be the last, and like I'll get through it. And so that's what I the goal of the song is to just sort of like accompany that and like make people not feel so alone in their sort of like emotional state, I guess. Yeah, it's like comforting in a way to sort of just like release all of that energy and sort of sing it along.
Yeah, it's like that comforting sad song.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's good.
So where do you see your project in the next 5 years? And is this single leading up to anything bigger? And if it is, you've got to spill the beans. Gun to your head.
Tell us everything.
Everything. My master plan. Yeah, so in terms of the short term, I have a couple other singles lined up. I'm doing a bunch of things. I have some singles coming out that are in collaboration with other producers. So like they made the track and then I wrote the lyrics and like sang the vocals. One of those is coming out, I think, at the end of this month. And then I'm aiming for my next like purely original single to come out in like towards the end of April. That one's also sort of like an like electronic one, but it's more lighthearted. And so I'm looking forward to that. I have a bunch of singles lined up. I'm trying to sort of do like every 6 to 8 weeks, like release something this year. Just a bunch of singles, probably not an EP or anything this year, but maybe next year. And in terms of the long term, 5 years, oh boy. I would love to be in the next 5 years. My goal has always been just to like make my income entirely from my creative pursuits. That's always been like my big life goal. So being more closer to that, if not there, in the next 5 years. I'd love to go on a tour. I've never toured yet. I play a lot locally. I'm New York City based, so I do a lot of gigs here. But I'd love to go on my first tour in the next 5 years and hopefully get signed to a sort of independent label that cares a lot about musicians. I have no real dreams of signing to like a major right now because that feels very like. I don't know. It doesn't always feel like they care about the artists, but like labels like Saddest Factory that like Phoebe Bridgers has just started, or like Dirty Hit, which is like the 1975's label, seems to really care about like just like letting their artists go and just like having the resources to do and like fulfill the artist's vision. So that would be my goal for the next 5 years.
Solid. I like that a lot. So for the last couple questions, we're actually going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you.
Super.
Sick. So we're going to go straight to death row.
Boom.
Oh boy.
So, if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Very, very, very big boom.
I sure do love contemplating my own mortality. Oh boy. My last meal with a drink.
With a drink?
I think it would have to be half of my family is Polish. And so I grew up, my comfort food is like pierogies and like kibas and all of that. So it would probably have to be that. It would be a big plate of pierogies. Either that like my family made, or there's a place in New York called Veselka's, which has the best pierogies and like latkes ever. And my drink, can I say like a milkshake? Does that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like a cookies and cream milkshake. That would probably be it.
That sounds amazing.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So if you could live in one fiction world for a week, where would you live?
Ooh. I would live. I've been on like a sci-fi kick recently. I love space, not in reality. Like I wouldn't ever want to like be an astronaut because like the reality of space like freaks me out a little too much, but I love space in like sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd say like Star Wars. I just think like visiting all the planets and just sort of hanging out in like all of the different sort of like space travel, like being able to like travel at that speed would be really sick. So
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I was expecting Avatar because I see the guy behind you.
That would also be a great one. That would also, I can't believe I also forgot that.
Come
that would
on.
actually probably be the one. I've been so obsessed with Avatar recently.
It's very good, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but I saw him and I was like, oh,
Zuko. Yeah, my
Yeah.
Zuko poster behind.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I'd want to be a waterbender for sure.
So
I would
true.
love
So
to do
true.
that.
I'd be a oh my god, airbender. Whoops.
Nice. Yeah.
Mhm. What about you, Shane?
I don't know.
Water, air, earth,
Fire.
fire. Okay,
Fire.
yeah. I saw that
We've
coming.
almost got them all covered here. We
Oh,
just
yeah,
gotta
we
find
need
a
one
nice
more.
blender.
Fire.
Yeah.
So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question.
Ooh.
What's your favorite color?
Oh man, this is the most important question.
It is.
You're right. It tends to sort of change, but right now I'm really into like a tangerine, like
Ooh.
a nice orange.
Yeah.
Feels
Alright.
very warm.
That's
Mhm,
solid.
definitely. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So as Gloria said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Sure. Yeah, I know you guys put like all the links in like the description of the podcast. So if you're listening, you can click them all there. But you can find my music under Emily McNally on basically any streaming platform. And then my Instagram is Emily McNally Sings, all one word.
All right.
Solid.
Well, thank you for now. This has been Emily McNally, and we're the Good Noise podcast.